We live in an era where access to knowledge has never been easier. Guides, frameworks, AI tools, and endless advice are available at our fingertips, and yet many professionals still find themselves stuck. They know what to do, they just don't do it. This gap between knowing and doing, often referred to as the execution gap, is one of the most overlooked barriers to career growth. One of the key reasons for the execution gap is what researchers call the illusion of competence. The belief that understanding something conceptually equals the ability to perform it. Reading about how to network, how to write a strong LinkedIn post,
how to prepare for interviews,
can create a false sense of readiness, but performance requires something deeper: practice, feedback, and iteration. In other words, familiarity is not mastery. The gap between knowledge and action is not random. It is driven by a combination of psychological and behavioral factors. First, cognitive overload. When people are exposed to too many strategies or best practices, they struggle to prioritize and act. Second, fear of evaluation. Taking action, especially in public spaces like LinkedIn, means being seen and judged, which can trigger avoidance behaviors. Third, lack of structured practice. Knowing what to do is insufficient without knowing how to implement it step by step. Bridging the execution gap requires shifting from passive understanding to active engagement. A few practical approaches that consistently prove effective. Start with constrained action. Instead of write better content, define a specific action. Publish one short post this week based on a real work situation. Reduce complexity. Choose one framework and stick to it temporarily. Consistency outperforms constant optimization. Create feedback loops. Execution improves only when there's reflection and adjustment. Even small signals matter. Normalize imperfect output. Research on skill acquisition shows that early-stage errors are not only expected, they are necessary for improvement. With the rise of AI, the execution gap is becoming more visible, not less. Today, almost anyone can generate a polished CV, draft a LinkedIn post, prepare interview answers, but tools don't replace execution, they amplify it. The real differentiator is no longer access to knowledge, but the ability to make decisions, apply context, execute consistently. In other words, the advantage shifts from what you know to how you act on it. In my work with professionals and organizations, I focus precisely on this transition, from knowledge to execution. Through LinkedIn consulting, career coaching, and content strategy, I help people turn ideas into consistent, visible action. Build a presence that reflects real value, not just theory. Translate knowledge into opportunities. Because ultimately, results don't come from knowing more, they come from doing differently.